So we are answering some questions today, guys. So thank you to anyone that sent through a message asking a question.
Not everyone, because I got some dodgy
You got
questions.
some doozies, yeah. So we won't go into those ones, unfortunately. Maybe Josh can answer those ones
Well,
personally. Personally, he can send you a message back. But no, we've got some questions, some good physio questions, some good PT questions. So I think we'll just jump right into it. I think we'll both have a bit of an insight from more of a physio's lens and a treatment lens versus a personal trainer in the gym lens. So although some questions are more tailored one way or the other, I think we'll get a good input on both of them.
I don't think there was any question that came through from what you showed me that was like exclusively physio or exclusive.
there's one.
Oh, there's one.
There's a few.
No, there is one.
There's
Sorry, there's one.
There's one that you refuse to answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Oh, no, don't do that. I know which one that is. Don't do that.
No, so I think the first one, which is a good one, which I think a lot of people would ask this question or maybe have thought it once or twice. How often should you change up your fitness program? Why or why not? Now, straight off the back of that, we're going to go into a little story time. How long have you been on your program?
Okay, so as a 3-day split, it was 7 months.
7 months and didn't change a thing.
Haven't changed a thing.
Haven't changed a thing. Why?
Haven't changed a thing. Laziness.
Honest.
Okay, so laziness from the perspective of I programmed it fairly well to cover all my bases, body part wise, training wise, intensity, things like that.
Yep.
Still allow me to, challenge everything that I needed to challenge, work on some of the weaker points that I've got, while also understanding that it was fitting within my time constraints.
Yep.
Previous to that, I'd had a 4-day split for about a year and a half that hadn't been touched.
Yeah.
So really, I've had one program change in 2 years.
Yeah. So I think from the training point, if your program that you're currently on and running, you're continuously progressing in some way, shape, or form in the constraints of the program, you can stay on it. So if you've got a rep range of 8 to 12 reps and you're doing a certain amount of sets and whatnot, and you can feel every week you're progressing either load or just your from set to set is going up, or you're maintaining the total volume, but you're increasing your rep ranges or whatnot. If you can continuously progress in the program, you can stay on it.
Progression could also be if you're making like the appropriate body composition changes that you want to. Like that's something that's something that I use a lot for myself. If I'm using those, or even for me, like I've got right hip, low back issues. I've got left shoulder, neck issues. Like I've got things coming out my back, so left pec. Like if I'm training and like my pain is staying decreased, like or at a manageable level, and I'm not having significant flare ups, things like that.
Yeah,
that was one of the biggest programming considerations when I changed my program.
Yeah,
was that I had to, and it took me a few weeks, but I played around with a few different changes to then make that change to lock it in of these are the exercises right now for this phase of my life, my lifting, whatever, that aren't aggravating my issues.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a big consideration. Why would I then go change something every 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Not knowing and start this little merry-go-round. Like I can program for forever if I wanted to. Like, and like, okay, the other part of this, I have no competitive goals for strength, body composition, anything. Like there's not a competitive bone left in my body for me.
Yeah.
I really believe that. Like I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when we did a little bit of like a why I do what I do, but like my competitive energy goes towards solving problems for my clients, youth athletes, things like that, recovery timelines, mapping those things out, or just solving problems for them. It doesn't necessarily come back to me. I'm in a service industry. I'm in a healthcare industry. Like that has to go to someone else. I just don't have it in me to do that, but I have it in me enough to continue to progress in something.
Yeah.
So for me, like I don't change much, but what about you? Like how often do you change? Because I know that you don't change as often as people might think.
The program, it depends on the goal. It depends on the phase that you're currently running in. So for personal, even for clients and stuff like that, if you're, let's say, on a 4-day split and the goal is just general strength, general building, the program itself will have the skeleton, it'll have the base, and I might change it more so every 6 weeks, but I keep the movement patterns the same. So let's say, for argument's sake, it's a chest press variation. I might go from a pin-loaded chest press to a plate-loaded chest press, or from a plate-loaded chest press to dumbbells, or something along those lines where the movement patterns stay relatively similar.
Mhm.
The main reason, again, I'm not training anyone that's of an extremely high level. So a lot of it comes down to enjoyment and not getting bored,
Novelty.
right? So if I said to the person, hey, we can run this exact same program for the next 12 weeks because we're going to see consistent progressions, they might get a bit bored. And I've had clients actually say like, hey, when are we changing the program up? I'm getting a little bit bored. Now, one side of me goes, well, are you still progressing on the program? We don't really need to change it. But the other side of me goes, okay, obviously enjoyment is a part of training for a lot of people, especially too if they're paying for the services of a personal trainer. They need that little bit of extra push. So if they're going to get bored, they're probably going to end up leaving me.
100%.
So that's
Retention
going
is
to be
important, though.
one reason to change it up. Second reason might be timing restraints might come into play. They go from 4 days to 3 days. They go from 4 days to 5 days. Like that's going to obviously change up how the program looks. They might be able to train for an hour, one set, like for a couple of months. Then it might go, I can only do 45 minutes. The goal might change. An injury might occur.
So many different
So
reasons.
all those things would change it. But I think general rule of thumb, if you can continuously progress on your program, you're enjoying the program and you're not in any pain or injured, you can stick to a program for a really long time.
The thing you mentioned there is that you're not changing the intention.
No, the intention
The
stays
intention
the same.
stays the same. Unless the goal is completely
goal changes.
changed
Like-
or like an injury occurs or something like that. But you mentioned it, right? Like if you're talking about a chest, like as a balanced program, right? Like you've got your chest, you've got your back, you've got your whatever, right? You might change the exercise, but you haven't changed the intention. You might change the skill demand or something like that, which might modify the load or the loadability of things, but you haven't thrown the baby out with the bathwater and gone full CrossFit novelty for novelty's sake.
Yeah.
No hate on CrossFit, but in a gym, you're not going to see the progress that you're after, especially as a new lifter, you might see the progress regardless. But if you're more than like 6 to 12 months in, you might not see as much as if you just went for it and just were consistent the whole way through that.
Yeah.
And
make sure you're tracking everything and sticking to rest periods.
Yeah, and doing all the other things that you should be doing. But yeah.
All right. So this one's a little bit more aimed at you.
Oh, thank you.
The importance of prehab for significant injuries like ACLs.
Yeah.
This one's all you.
Yeah, like I think it's a tough one. Like for me personally, like yes, okay, like if you've had an ACL reconstruction or you've had an ACL rupture and you're going in for reconstruction, it depends on your physical baseline. Like I know who asked that question and I know he works in rugby league and I know that 9 times out of 10 those athletes are going to have a decent amount of muscle mass and a decent amount of physical capacity. That really your big issue early is restoring gait, reducing a bit of the swelling, inflammation, things like that prior to surgery, because there's going to be a delay. Like an ACL isn't necessarily something where you have it ruptures and then you're operated on the next day or that day, right? It does take time to get in and get all that stuff done. So you do have a period of time where you can work on those kinds of things or even start mapping out with the athlete or with the person the rehab phases that they're about to undergo, right? So like one thing that I do and one of my colleagues do a fair bit is get a good, first 4 weeks or so if we can, if there is a 4-week lead in, and almost do some of the drills that we're going to do post-op, pre-op, and get that done. Whether that's some general just strengthening stuff or whether that's more coordination-based stuff, just getting the muscles to fire well and contract around a joint.
Yeah.
So that we're not actually putting extra stress back onto that graft when we come back out.
Yeah.
If you're a gen pop or if it was you or me, okay, massively important to do some pre-op stuff and prehab stuff prior to a surgery.
Yeah.
We're not weak, but are we athlete level? Like semi-professional, professional athlete level? Not a chance. I think it does depend.
Yeah.
But like the rehab phases and the rehab journey for an ACL is a long one. Like the research is 9 to 12 months as a minimum, like as a low end to return to sport. So whether it's prehab, like first 4 weeks post pre-operation, or whether it's, that first like 3 months post-op, it's going to be critical the whole way through because that's going to set whether it's towards that 9-ish months or whether it's 12 to 14.
Yeah, okay. Nice. I got nothing to add to that because that was aimed purely at you.
Yeah, and I know who said
I
that,
think
so thank you.
this one, I think we can both have a crack at this one. First part is a 2-part question. So with a slip disc and sciatic pain, how do you know what pain is safe to work through versus when to stop? And is it too late to fix core issues after 2 C-sections if my youngest is 19 months? This question's obviously coming from a mother, 2 babies.
I should hope it's coming from
Yeah.
the mother.
2 babies. Youngest is 19 months old. The eldest is
This is one of your clients,
getting
isn't it?
close to 4. It's actually a really good friend of mine.
Okay.
The eldest is getting close to 4, so both C-sections. Now, let's talk first.
No. Let's go you first.
All right, so is it too late to fix core issues after 2 C-sections? No, it's not. Obviously, any trauma to the abdominals through obviously the C-section and the pregnancy, if there was no post-surgery, post-birth plan straight away straight away used, I guess we could say, or straight away implemented, then obviously there is going to be a little bit of weakness through the core and some scar tissue and things like that. Is it too late to fix it? No. Obviously, training is going to help that. I think something like Pilates, whether it be floor Pilates or reformer Pilates or table Pilates, something along those lines would be a good starting point to really teach you how to control your body through core movements and just start building a base level of strength. Now, depending on what your training history is like, you might be going in as a complete beginner. You might see that you have some core improvements pretty quickly. If you're someone that has been training for a really long time, had a C-section or given birth naturally, and obviously had some linear albor tearing or whatnot, you can definitely correct and fix core issues post. Yeah. It just needs to be something that is implemented well into your plan. Speaking to you mentioned it before.
Women's health physios.
Like a women's health physio, implementing something like that, or seeking out someone that has done postnatal training.
Yep.
Could be something really beneficial. Speaking to a physio, getting clearance and all those things can be really important to definitely get you back on track. And I also think that improving core strength will help with the first part. So if you've got sciatic nerve pain or a slip disc pain, if that is coming from potential weak core, weak lower back, weak glutes, getting into a good strength training program that's safe and modified to you could be something that could fix all 3 of those things.
Yeah, I think like at the risk of mansplaining pregnancies and postpartum stuff.
You're talking, so go for it.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
You can get cancelled. It'll be the Dom show soon.
It'll just be the Dom show. When you have a C-section, right? My understanding, and I could be wrong here, so please don't sue me.
Oh God!
Like they cut through fascia, they cut through muscle. Yeah. That's what they have to do, which means that it's a muscle tear, right? You've got a muscle tear, plus you've already got the stretching, the expansion of the abdominal wall as you're growing a child. That's traumatic. Like it's not an easy thing. It's not like it's a muscle tear as well. Like it's a manufactured muscle tear. That takes time. Everyone who asks me about anything that related, like the minute they come into the clinic, like there's certain things that I can help with if it's far enough down the line, but I work with a women's health physio and they go to her. They go to her because it's like I'm mansplaining this. Like we should get her on the show actually.
Yeah, it could be a good one.
Get her on the show. But like, is it too late? No. Strength training long term, best thing you can ever do.
Yeah.
Are you going to return to like they call it postpartum for a reason. Like you don't return to prepartum. I don't even know if that's a word. I don't know. But like you can minimize the length of time and the deficiencies long term by finding something that works for you.
Yeah.
Long term research is so. I was actually talking to Aaliyah about this the other day. Like the research is so heavy on resistance training, strengthening, progressive strengthening, more specifically than resistance training, progressive strengthening, whatever that might be. If your baseline is sweet, absolutely nothing, mat Pilates, reformer Pilates, maybe some body weight, maybe some light resistance, maybe some resistance training long term. That could be a good progression model.
That's your runway.
That's your runway there. And then we know from resistance training that you've got a long runway even within that. You can't progress mat Pilates very far loading wise.
No.
You can do it from a co-contraction, a core perspective, things like that. And like you mentioned, like When I first read the question, like my first thought was, okay, like are the sciatic and disc issues coming from core deficiencies or vice versa? Like, is it like which ones come first, chicken or the egg? Either way, I think the disc irritation, things like that, like again, resistance training, abdominal co-contractions, like teaching the entire trunk to co-contract as one functional unit, great thing. And if you've got a low baseline, Pilates is a great way to do it. Resistance training is a great way to do it. Probably long term, not just sitting on machines, but having some exercises that require some internal stability, like a dumbbell row or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, this one is a little bit more nutrition based.
Mhm.
So using a calorie deficit for weight loss, if I wanted to fast using the 18-6 method, so for anyone that doesn't know, the 18-6 method is 18 hours fasting with a 6-hour eating window, while obviously being in a calorie deficit. How long can you fast for with it still being healthy and not a case of diminishing returns with risk of atrophy due to the lower protein intake? So this person struggles hitting their protein goal in the 6-hour window, but find that fasting provides much better results for the week-to-week weight loss. Okay, so my first my go-to when it comes to fasting is, what's the main purpose of it? Is the main purpose of fasting weight loss? Because obviously restricted eating window means less food being consumed.
Possibly.
Depending
on adherence.
Look, a 6-hour eating window, maybe getting 2 meals in, depending on how big the meals are. Obviously, that goes into why the protein intake is so much lower. If you are resistance training while doing this, you'd want to be hitting at least 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight whatever you weigh, depending on how much body fat you need to lose. If you're really struggling to hit that goal, 2 things I would look at. 1, maybe decrease the fasting and increase the eating window so you can potentially fit another meal in. Obviously, using supplements like protein shakes and things like that could be a way to get, a double scoop protein. You can hit close to 50 grams of protein in that. Are you completely relying on supplements to hit your protein goal? Not always the best idea. How long can you do the fasting for before the returns start to diminish?
Depends on the person, depends on
the
amount of weight to lose.
Yeah.
Depends on the training age, depends on the training
intensity.
Yeah, like it can be all of these kinds of things. And I think in that, sorry to jump in, but like in that, it's like, are you looking at weight loss? That's loss.
I was about to say that. So without, if you go and get, skin folds done, you're doing body measurements, you get a DEXA scan, like anything that can tell you exactly how much muscle mass versus fat mass you have. If you're dropping weight or fat versus muscle at the same rate, you're already gone.
Yeah.
You need to get out of fasting.
Yep.
As good as it can be for hormone balance and a whole bunch of different functions. If you're losing the muscle mass at the same rate, you're losing the fat mass, or even faster, because, you're really low on calories, you're really low on protein, you are trying to resistance train, you've got a physical job, the diminishing results are instant.
Yeah.
Even though you're seeing the scale go down, the only time that I would really worry about what the scale says is if you do a sport or you're in a profession that requires you to be a weight.
Weight class.
If you're a fighter of any description and you need to be on fight day or weigh-ins, or a powerlifter, you need to be a weight, then you should worry about what the scale says. If
some bodybuilding federations as well, you do need to be
you need to be a certain weight. Yes, that's correct.
Especially in the men.
If your goal is to lean up, look better in clothes, feel better when you're naked, what the scale says really doesn't matter. What your body looks like matters.
And what it feels like.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, that's not going to necessarily be reflected on the scale.
Exactly.
So
first thing I would do is, maybe if you're really struggling to hit your protein, maybe go to a 12 and 12. 12 fast, 12 eating.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I would never really drop shorter than a 16-8.
Yeah.
Like 18-6 is it's hard.
That's hard.
It is hard.
That's a tough one.
And it's not just hard from that. Like your stomach's going to suck. Like, I'm not a dietitian. I know a few dietitians, but like the digestive distress that would come from just having that much food in your stomach for that shorter period of time, like you're actually probably doing more harm than good, because you're changing how your gut functions too.
Yeah.
You might see results, but
But
long
are
term,
they the results you want?
and then, coming back out the back of that, like, there's going to be an adjustment period again when you return back to normal feeding windows,
Yeah.
or like 3 to 5 meals a day, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I'll talk about me. Like, when I was going through uni, I wasn't eating until 2, 3, 4 o'clock, and I was up at 5. Like, I would go like 4:30 a.m. I'd wake up, I'd go to the pool, lifeguard shift till midday, straight from there to uni, do classes in the Arvos. It'd be 4 or 5 o'clock, and then I'm eating. And I'm trying to eat, 2,500, 3,000 calories in a period from when I get home at 6 to like 8, 9 o'clock. That was,
It was tough.
I did it.
Yeah, a few
Did I-
pizzas.
Yeah.
Burgers.
But then again, like, then we're looking at quality foods. Are you eating quality foods to do that? No, you're eating calorie dense foods that are not, like, they're not nutrient dense.
Yeah.
So it's harder once you start hitting nutrient dense foods.
This is a bit of a lighter question. What's been your career highlight so far? You got one? Even personal and client.
No, look, I've got a lot, to be honest with you. Like, I think a lot of the things, there's a lot of highlights. Like, even like just yesterday, I've been working with a kid who was in Pathways, rugby league Pathways, and he had a pretty nasty shoulder injury. I can't even remember now. Probably like maybe even like April, May last year, something like that. Through the season last year, ended up having a reconstruction. All the talk throughout the reconstruction and like the rehab timelines was like, from his manager and stuff, was like, yeah, you're probably not going to get picked up by a side to play SG Ball or Jersey Flegg this year. So in the development pathways on the way through. We knew that. He slowly became okay with it. And I saw him literally only 2 weeks ago, and he's like, shoulder started feeling good. He started like getting a lot of muscle mass back, things like that. And he's like, I'm just really excited to play footy with the boys again. Like, he's just playing park footy, right?
Yeah.
Playing park footy. It's like his last year that he can get away with playing park footy at age group before he's opens.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just playing with the boys. Like, this is sick. And his mum calls, and she's like, yeah, like, we got a call from his manager. He's going to get, probably, assuming everything goes well, get signed by North Sydney Bears.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
And like, in the conversation, I'm like, sorry, what? Like, where did this come from? But like, for him to even be in that position, like, that's really rewarding, because like, now he's really excited. Like, his mum was telling me, like, he's so excited to be back playing reps. Like, he was excited to play with the boys, but he's excited to play reps too.
Yeah.
I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's like, he goes to uni, but like, he goes to uni. And I'll throw shade at him all day, every day for that one. Like, the number of times he's like, oh yeah, I went to uni, I don't remember much. I'm like, come on, bro. He just loves playing footy.
Yeah.
He loves playing footy. And like, to be able to be a part of that,
Yeah.
like, I don't do anything. Like, he still has to do the work. Like, a successful shoulder, like, I can lay out the best plan in the world, but if he doesn't do the work,
He's still part
I
of that
still got to
journey.
do the work. I'm part of that journey, and that was really cool. And there's like so many times where that's happened. So many times where I like those kinds of things. Like, there was another kid last year who's an elite swimmer. I treated him 3 hours. He absolutely fried his low back. And it was about a week earlier, and he was just like hiding it for a few days, and then he just couldn't hide it anymore from his coaches or his parents. And I treated him like literally only maybe 2-3 hours before he got in the pool at like a state titles, at a state champs. And he swam close enough to PB times.
Perfect.
I'm like, that's cool. Like, that kind of stuff they're the highlights for me, because they're the rewarding things. And like, even like, everyday people, like, I treat one family in particular, and I treat the grandpa. And like, he came in with like this little bit of like a foot drop thing, and they were like concerned he'd done like some spinal damage or something like that. We got him stronger. He doesn't trip over his own feet now. He doesn't have falls every 5 seconds.
Perfect. Yeah. So like, it's those little wins.
Yeah, like those things. Those are really cool for me. But yeah, I'm curious to hear yours, because you've been working with people for a very long time.
Yeah. I think like absolute career highlights. I think the times that I've taken people to either powerlifting shows or bodybuilding shows, and they've just done the absolute best that they could. The bodybuilding shows, I've been lucky. I've taken 3 people to bodybuilding shows, and each of them have walked away with a gold. So I'm like, I'm
Retire now. Retire now. I've got 100%.
I'm quite happy with that one.
3 from 3.
Again, obviously they're the ones doing the work. Obviously, you give them the tips and the pointers wherever you can, but they go into the shows and they do the best they can. And to walk away with a few golds, a few silvers, like that's obviously cool. Same with powerlifting. I took a young guy to his first ever powerlifting show, and we were able to PB all our lifts on the day, even though we ran into some injuries or some like niggles and stuff throughout the prep. And then just, any client that's achieved their goal, whether it's their weight loss goal or whatnot. I've had one client that, she dropped down from, I think it was a size 18 down to a size 10 and just was the most confident I'd ever seen her.
It's life-changing.
Massive, right? So it's things like that. So
but I think
all those things are big wins.
We're not here, and it's not about us, right?
No.
Like, it's not about us, but we're human, and you like to feel like you're doing something good and like helping, right? We don't get into this necessarily
for the accolades,
but we do get into it. I think there is an element of like, you need to love what you do.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just going to do a shit job.
100%.
We got time for one more question?
Yeah. Last question. I think this is a good question. Exercising using fast or slow reps, the difference and which is more beneficial. So the tempo training one, it can be used for different things. Slower tempos, obviously the load will be a lot lower, but it requires you to focus more on how you move. So making sure that you're bracing better, obviously time under tension starts to increase. You should be able to feel what you're doing a lot more. Obviously then using faster repetitions can work more on explosiveness, work more on power. Obviously you need to be much more technically proficient in the exercises that you're doing. One of the ways that I really like to use tempo is when teaching or showing how to do an exercise for the first time or modifying to correct little niggles or injuries. So I have an amazing client. Her name is Julia. It is my wife.
He doesn't play favorites, but he does.
So part of her program, we were doing RDLs. Now, every time she would hit a particular weight, I think she was up to about like 70 kilos. She was just all in her back, just pain in her back, couldn't hit the target reps and everything. So I was like, okay, let's strip the weight back. Let's focus more on much slower eccentrics. Let's put a pause in the lengthened position. Let's do slower concentrics and let's start rebuilding that. As soon as we did that, it was, I can feel it in my hamstrings. I can feel it in my glutes now. I've got no pain in my back. Then after a 4-week progression on that, it was almost like, okay, we're back to 65 kilos, almost using that same tempo. It's like, okay, like we were able to rebuild.
Yeah.
Getting the feeling back in the hamstrings because we weren't just dropping the weight, diving it, whatnot.
Yeah.
So using slower tempos to retrain movement patterns, to train movement patterns correctly, teaching at the start, and to get a better connection. So that whole mind muscle connection, you're going to feel slower reps, slower concentrics, slower eccentrics, way more than if you're just like pumping the reps out. There's a time and place for the explosive stuff. For example, if you're a powerlifter, you're a speed-based or power-based athlete, sprinter, whatnot, there are going to be times when you need to do very explosive movements. Sometimes back end of a set, get a pump, go for it.
Yeah. I think it depends. On whether it's.
Love that.
No, I'm not. No, but I'm not actually.
It is true.
I'm not actually fence sitting though. Like, are we talking about fast and slow reps as eccentrics? Are we talking about it as concentrics? Like, what are we talking about there? Like, for me, it's about controlled reps. It'll be controlled reps. Eccentrics, fantastic in rehab, fantastic in load management. Very, very, very good for load management tools. Like, if I want somebody to just not flog themselves with a ridiculous amount of load as I'm reintegrating, say, shoulder pressing. I'm doing that for a guy who has a AC injury right now. And we're doing extended tempo eccentric. But then his concentric after his like little very, very, very slight pause is just normal.
Yeah.
Right. And we're just exposing his shoulder to those positions with the eccentric. So like I think there's a little bit of a difference there. For me, I don't really pay too much in particular lifting gym settings of the concentric. Just get it done, but be controlled. Like, don't throw it around.
Yeah.
If your eccentric has been controlled for most movements, it's going to be very, very difficult to throw around the concentric.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult because you can't really like just flick it and just go. Most people can't unless you're a very, very fast twitch athlete. And then what you do then is your concentric speed is generally when you're starting to get closer to failure, because that's where you're recruiting more motor units and you're actually starting to see that execution drop off a little bit, that fatigue accumulate. In terms of power-based stuff, I agree with like sprinters, jumpers, things like that. But I think like there's a difference between the intention of being a power-based athlete for a powerlifter and moving weight fast. You're not necessarily going to move weight fast as a powerlifter. You're going to try to, but you're not necessarily going to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're looking at like sprinting, running, jumping, things like that, where you're going to be really, really snappy, really, really springy, you're far more explosive, where you're looking at those fast reps, you're trying to get off the ground quickly.
Yeah, but you're also doing those fast reps at like a 40% max.
It's
yeah.
So like it's the force velocity curve, right?
Another podcast. We won't get into that.
We should bring Andy on and we'll talk force velocity curve.
Yeah,
We'd be here for
yeah, we'll do it. Yeah,
Andy,
that'll be a 3-part episode.
That'll be a
1, part 2, part 3,
3-month episode. But yeah, like so for me, like it's that's probably where I stand with.
I think general rule of thumb for the Gen Pop lifter that's trying to build a bit of strength, build a bit of hypertrophy, maybe even drop a bit of body fat if they're in a calorie deficit. Just control
the eccentric,
both parts of the movement.
Control the eccentric. Stop and control the pause or the end range. Go again. Control it at the top. Reset. Go again.
Wash, rinse, and repeat for a set.
3-1-1-1.
I like it. 3-1-1-1-1. Let's do an extra one in there.
Yeah, you threw an extra.
That's right.
All right, well, I think that'll do us for questions.
Yeah. Well, guys, again, thank you for anyone that did send through a question. If you guys do have any other questions, we will obviously be doing another one of these in a couple of weeks. So
DM one of those.
Yeah, send us a message. We'll put another post out when we are going to do one if you do think of any questions. Again, shout out to our sponsor, Catalyst Brew Specialty Coffee. Anybody that is looking to buy any coffee, jump on their website. If you use the code Dom and Josh at checkout, you will receive 20% off.
So now that we've changed the code,
we actually changed the code. Sorry, Matt. That was my bad. I wasn't paying attention to what you actually sent me. But yeah, thanks again, guys, and see you around.
See you in the next one.